I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about Tucker Carlson supporters. I care about Charlie Kirk supporters.
The Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom, just launched his podcast, This is Gavin Newsom, and his first guest was Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. And the internet has gone absolutely wild over this, with people on both the left and the right condemning, on the show, also praising the show, saying it's a good way to cross the aisle, talk to people we don't usually talk to. And Newsom at one point even asked Charlie Kirk to give the Democrats advice about what to do and where they should go from here. And frankly, folks, I still don't know how to feel about this. So I would greatly appreciate your help in those comments down below as we watch these clips to just help me figure out, A, is this real life? And B, is this a good idea or a massive blunder? We'll talk more about reactions at the end, so drop a like, subscribe, and let's dive into these clips, starting with how the interview began.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed, he's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie gonna be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he didn't. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is, you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding. Of course.
No, but I know, but I appreciate that. I mean, it's the reason you're here, because I think people need to understand your success, your influence, what you've been up to, and the fact that you're on these college campus tours.
Yeah, you know, honestly, a little bit sycophantic for my taste, but he does kind of have a point there. I mean, Charlie Kirk is reaching the leader of the Democratic Party of California's son. Like, they are doing something to get through to this demographic. And he talks about that in this next clip.
And to your point, man, you just open up. I mean, you're like, ask me anything.
Anything.
Challenge me,
whatever.
When did this whole thing, when did you start putting this together?
I've been at this for 13 years, and it's been a wild movement, really accelerated once President Trump kind of came on the scene. Right around, I'd say 2021, we had a goal. Could we move the youth vote 10 points over 10 years? And
it was literally, you sat down and put that numerical together.
Yeah, like, can we move it 10 points over 10 years? Ish, approximate. Yeah. Because our whole hypothesis was, and we did this alongside President Trump and his great team, was that this demographic is disproportionately to the Democrat side. We believe Democrats were taking them for granted. We think that your side had no message whatsoever and an ideological monopoly. We saw some of the fault lines there. And to President Trump's credit, he also harmonized with the strategy by going on podcasting and using TikTok. But yeah, I mean, we did it in 4 years, not 10, large in part thanks to you guys.
And this is where I started to kind of be like, okay, maybe there's something here, right? Because Gavin Newsom, in another clip that we'll watch in a later part of the segment, he says Republicans are flooding the zone with content, policy, and messaging every single day. We can't just sit back or play dead. Time to flip the script. So take a listen to Charlie Kirk explain how this whole thing came about. And then eventually we'll see Gavin actually push back on some of these conservative talking points.
One of the things we saw in the last couple of years that the Democrats completely ignored, and your side was basically not acknowledging was happening, right, was the crisis that young people were experiencing.
Right.
That, I mean, it's the first time in America's history that a 30-year-old is going to have it worse off than their parents.
Right.
It's a breakdown of the social compact.
That's right.
They are the most alcohol addicted, most drug addicted, most suicidal, yep, most depressed, most medicated generation in history.
Right.
And the message that was largely being fed to a lot of young people was lower your expectations. You're not going to have the same American dream that your parents would have. Mm-hmm. And we saw this as an opportunity, especially with young men. And again, this got ridiculed a lot by the press that, they're creating this manosphere thing. Look, they're half of the population and necessary for any society and civilization to succeed, which is to have both strong men and strong women.
Yeah.
And we went about that in a very unique and creative way. And again, the president became a cultural phenomenon, right, where no matter what you threw at this guy, he rose above it. And you would even have to give him credit. I mean,
100%.
facing 700 years in federal prison,
yeah,
states tried to kick him off the ballot. I know you spoke out against it, but California did have a faction that tried to kick him off the ballot, right?
That's right.
And despite all of that, of course, being shot, and that was kind of the crescendo of all of it, he kind of became this figure of an American comeback story.
Yep.
So he personified what a lot of young people, especially young men, wanted back in their politics, which was an ascendant rebel attitude against these institutions that have failed them so miserably.
And I mean, clearly Kirk is somewhat right there about something. They did have their finger on a pulse, though I think there is almost as much to be attributed to people being dissatisfied with the system as a whole and just not turning out to vote. But if you do get that demographic of young men riled up, and obviously for the wrong reasons, but riled up enough nonetheless to go out and vote, then you get the fucking presidency. Don't get me wrong, it is very cringe to watch Gavin Newsom sit there and be so sycophantic and kind of glaze up Charlie Kirk like this. But in this next clip, he cites an op-ed penned by famed Democratic strategist James Carville, who said that the Democrats should roll over and play dead and allow President Trump and Republicans to, quote, crumble beneath their own weight and make the American people miss the Democrats as part of a strategic political retreat. And even though currently it feels like that is literally all the Democrats can do, I, like Gavin Newsom in this next clip, disagree with that.
I think you talked about it the other day. A lot of folks were talking about that Carville article where he talked about
roll over and play dead.
Roll over. In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat, right? That we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. This was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And I immediately, no BS, thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone, owning this space, every day getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000 folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment to finally strike. Struck me as not necessarily the best advice, and it's not a knock on Carville, who I have deep respect for. What's your thoughts?
That's okay. So I don't have to. He's right about one thing in the last 40 years. It's economy stupid, and boy, he spent down that one line pretty amazingly. Yeah, I hope you guys retreat.
You kind of like the
more
advice.
For us.
You like the
there's no opposition. There's no activist spark. You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know,
most
this
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same thing.
You didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead. Go do more of that.
Yeah, and I hate to be that guy, folks, but the clips he's talking about Democrats being cringe are pretty freaking cringe. It is the Smash Brothers music with AOC and oh my god. Clearly, this is not a winning political strategy, and that sucks because I love Jasmine Crockett, I love AOC, I love a lot of these people, but this is not how you fight a fascist regime. But then you also have Gavin Newsom kind of throwing a bone to the right wing as he talks about how he is against trans women in sports here. Take a look at this clip.
What do you do?
Please.
But what do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice.
Get better ideas, Governor. So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports,
right.
that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
And I do think he handles the nuance of that a little well, though it's already clearly been taken out of context by right-wingers on the internet. But then again, I sit here and think, well, isn't that kind of the point, at least to have them talking about Gavin Newsom? Obviously, this guy is going to run in 2028, and I think it would be good to have a Democrat or somebody that can counter these people. But like, again, at what point is this savvy political strategy? And then at what point does it become just pandering?
But why do you think moms are doing that? Do you think it's because they want to have mind control, or do you think that they have come across incident of highly provocative material?
I love moms, but this moms, we don't have to get into Moms for Liberty. It seems
you brought up the book bans,
deeply organized for a larger agenda, but that's my humble opinion.
Look, I just watched that clip for the first time, and honestly, I feel like he kind of rolled over there, and I genuinely don't know. Part of that feels like I've lost some respect for Gavin Newsom. The way he's so in awe of Charlie Kirk, the way he's admiring him and stuff when this guy is such a piece of shit. But then I have some sense of humility, and I think, look, Kenny, I think all of these people are pieces of shit. And I am just a humble internet satirist who can shit on them, and it doesn't have that many consequences. Because I think they're terrible people. But then I realized they are also people, and not only that, they are the people that elected Donald Trump and got this country to where it is. So at what point does the benefit outweigh the cringiness? When does reaching across the chasm of ideological differences become worthwhile and not selling yourself out for political gain? I don't know. Nothing is certain in this current political climate. And I do genuinely want to hear from all of you. What do you think about this? Is this the nail in the coffin for Gavin Newsom, or will he be resurrected on the third day like the Jesus Christ of latter-day Republican liberals? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse. I'll see you guys in the next one.